Jesus revealed to me what he wrote in the sand when the adulteress was brought before her. So I'm going to read this to you, and then we'll get into what I was shown. But Jesus went to the Mount of Olives. Now early in the morning he came again into the temple, and all the people came to him, and he sat down and taught them. Then the scribes and the Pharisees brought to him a woman caught in adultery. And when they had set her in the midst, they said to him, Teacher, this woman was caught in adultery, in the very act. Now Moses is in the law commanded us that such should be stoned. But what do you say? This they said, testing him, that they might have something of which to accuse him. But Jesus stooped down and wrote on the ground with his finger, as though he did not hear. So when they continued asking him, he raised himself up and said to them, He who is without sin among you, let him throw a stone at her first. And again he stooped down and wrote on the ground. Then those who heard it, being convicted of their conscience, went out one by one, beginning with the oldest even to the last, and Jesus was left alone, and the woman standing in the midst. When Jesus had raised himself up and saw no one but the woman, he said to her, Woman, where are those accusers of yours? Has no one condemned you? She said, No one, Lord. And Jesus said to her, Neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more. Then Jesus spoke to them again, saying, I am the light of the world. He who follows me shall not walk in darkness, but have the light of life. The Pharisees therefore said to him, You bear witness of yourself? Your witness is not true. Jesus answered and said to them, Even if I bear witness to myself, my witness is true, for I know where I came from and where I am going, but you do not know where I come from and where I am going. You judge according to the flesh. I judge no one. And yet, if I do judge, my judgment is true, for I am not alone, but I am with the Father who sent me. It is also written in your law that the testimony of two men is true. I am one who bears witness of myself, and the Father who sent me bears witness to me. Then they said to him, Where is your Father? Jesus answered, You know neither me nor my Father. If you had known me, you would have known my Father also. So this is I was taken up with Jesus in this area where I could see like the modern day world, and then I was in his time period, standing like off to the side, watching what was going on with that girl, and what went on. When he was writing in the sand, she was laying on the ground on her left side, and she had black hair, and she had, like, her hair covering was off, and she was laying in the sand. And I seen the temple like behind Jesus and the girl, and then the Pharisees all like, they're all like surrounding her. I mean, that was creepy as it is. So I thought to myself, you know, that was scary what was going on then. So I seen him there, but I seen him to my other side in like the now where we were. And so he showed me what he wrote in the sand, and this is what he wrote. I am the Son of Man. I am without sin. I will cast the first stone on the day of my judgment. And that's what he wrote in the sand. Then I said to him, I go, no one's going to believe me. He goes, you're going to tell everyone what I showed you, and you're going to tell them what you've seen here. I even seen his color of his clothes. They were white, and he had like, it was like a muted color like over him. I found a similar picture of what he had. His head was covered. Even like the color of the girl's dress and her covering over her, but they had that off. They threw her to the ground. It was like the dogs going after her. It was terrible. And he told me, he goes, if they don't believe you, he goes, and you don't tell because you're worried about that, he goes, on day of judgment, your judgment will be double. So I'm telling you this, what he told me to tell you, what he wrote in the sand. And so I told you about the vision where I was taken up and he cast that stone to the earth from heaven. That stone literally came out of heaven's riverbed. And it is heading right toward us. And if you don't know at the times that we are in, you need to really read the book of Revelations and see what his judgments are. I have to do a separate one of his spear, his rod that he's going to on us now. And so I'm going to show you pictures of what it looked like, but the temple was like behind Jesus and it had those pillars. It was beautiful. The temple was white and it was beautiful, and the ground had all sand on it, and Jesus was so beautiful. He was thinner then than what he looks like now. I mean, he's real muscular. He's taller than what everyone thinks he was. And people back then, they said, oh, these archaeologists, oh, those people starved. No, they didn't. These people ate well. And Jesus, he looked really handsome in his clothing. It wasn't like a very impoverished person. I mean, the way they have these people dressed in some of these movies, it's like like they came out of an alleyway. No, they weren't like that. It wasn't like that. And that girl had like wavy black hair, and she was on the ground just crying, just laying there, just crying. And these men were ruthless. Them people, and just think now, the people are way worse than back then. So I'm just going to show you what I seen, and I hope you guys are happy that you got your answer. So that's wonderful. He's revealing everything now. Where the temple was, and Jesus was there with the girl and all the Pharisees, and then to the other side, but it was not black. It was an opening to the realm of where we are now in modern times. Like I could look and see it, but it was all lit up because Jesus is there. Wherever he is, there's always like this huge bright light. And then the temple is right there like that. It was beautiful. It was all white, and he was outside on the stairs where the columns are, and he had the covering over his head. And then these clothes is just like what Jesus was wearing. He was wearing like that color white, but he had like a color like that over his head as a covering. It looked just like that. And the girl's clothes is almost the same looking clothes that you see her in there, except it's like the same sage green color, except the covering over her head was a little bit darker. And this is the stone that Jesus cast to the earth with me, and this is the same color. It has no holes in it. It's smooth, and this is the same shape of the stone, and it's headed right toward earth. And so this is my testimony, and I'm telling the truth. I don't want his judgment. No way.